Episode 240 of the Outdoor Biz Podcast with Jensen and Nikolai Poloni, founders of OMBRAZ Sunglasses, brought to you this month by Koala-Tree. Koala-Tree designs eco-minded gear and apparel for the adventurer and everyone, from athletes and photographers to your average city folks and weekend warriors. Summiting the tallest peaks or lounging around town with friends, their products are practical, stylish, and functional. Visit theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/koalatree and grab something stylish for your next peak bag adventure or late-night pizza run. Visit theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/koalatree. Koalatree is Coalatree. Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're talking with Jensen and Nikolai Poloni of OMBRAZ Sunglasses. We talk about how they launched a new sunglass line after Jensen's Aviators snapped on a camel safari in the Thar Desert. They make unique, durable sunglasses and plant 20 mangrove trees for every pair sold. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, good to catch up. You guys are in Seattle and Portland. Do I have that right?
We are just both in Seattle.
Both in Seattle. All right. How's it going up there?
Quite righteous. It's it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Nice. Good deal. Let's start with how you guys were introduced to the outdoors and adventure. Jensen, why don't you go first?
Oh man, that is where to start there. Well, I think really my kind of drive to be outside started as a kid. We never had cable TV, and I lived behind just this huge wooded area that was really awesome. And me and my brothers and neighborhood friends would hang out and build forts in the woods behind my house. Growing up as a little boy, for that's where I spent my childhood days. And then slowly, as I started getting older, the woods started getting cut down and houses started replacing the woods. And by the time I left the house, there were no more woods left. And so I think that also really spurred my kind of love for conservation and preservation of the earth, and kind of the ecological stewardship mindset that is so important to OMBRAZ Sunglasses.
And what was your first big adventure away from the woods behind the house? Do you remember that?
Outdoor adventure?
Outdoor.
I think it's the first time I ever went backpacking. I actually climbed Mount Rainier.
Wow, first time backpacking.
So that was
that's big.
Pretty sweet. Yeah, no, I had to borrow a backpack and all the gear, but I think that was my first real kind of Washington backcountry adventure, and that'll spur you.
That's a good start.
Into an adventure, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Nikolai, how about you? How'd you get introduced to the outdoors and adventure?
Well, I was born in Russia, and I spent a good amount of time there. I lived there till I was 8, and then I would spend every summer in Russia until I was 15 or 16. And basically, my most memorable moments of my childhood were spent at our summer house, which was out in a very wooded area, in kind of a small, down a dirt road where there were a few other houses, and had a bunch of friends down there. And it was a super liberating, free place. We would, from the time I was 8, 9 years old, we would take bikepacking trips before it was even called bikepacking. Multi-day, just with the friends, and make our own fishing poles and catch fish in different lakes and ponds we'd bike by, and spent a lot of time in the woods, just having bonfires and chopping up stuff, and it was just an amazing time in my life, and we did that till I was 15, 16, and
wow, cool.
Had a bunch of different treks and journeys, and it was it definitely spurred my appreciation and love for the outdoors.
Got you hooked, yeah. And you guys met in college, right?
Yeah,
in Southern California.
Yeah, we went to the University of Redlands.
That's right.
It's a small liberal arts school in between LA and Palm Springs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I grew up in Fontana, so we played the Redlands High School and all the sports, and we're very familiar with Redlands. Redlands and Fontana were two very different communities back then.
Yeah.
They still are, probably.
I can imagine.
Yeah. So tell us about the trip to the Thar Desert. How'd you decide on going there and on the camel?
Wow. All right. Yeah. So that's kind of where the Thar Desert is kind of where the idea for OMBRAZ kind of originated. I was on a camel safari in India. That's where the Thar Desert is, and this would have been 2011. So I took a year off from college and so I was on this expedition on these camels and found out I'm actually definitely allergic to camels on this trip as well. But that is completely irrelevant to
what
the story.
What kind of allergies? How did it manifest? Just sneezing,
your
runny nose, the whole deal.
Your throat closes up. No, like I thought I was like, what is going on? I never had allergies before, so my throat closed. I could barely breathe, and we were like, 3 days away from civilization, and the blankets we use at night were like covered in camel dander. So like it was a rough time. But anyways,
you
survived. You gotta. For every win, there's a loss. So
that's it. You gotta suck it up.
Yeah. So So I had just bought this pair of sunglasses in New Delhi. And then someone, like a few hours into the trip, like sat on them when we were taking a lunch break, and the side arms broke off. And that had happened to me so many times in the past. I bought these sunglasses for the trip, and I didn't have sunglasses before that because sunglasses are always so frustrating for me.
They break.
Like they break and they fall down your face, or they just fall off, and you can't store them anywhere without having to worry about them. And they pinch the side of your head when you have to wear them for longer than 20 minutes. I actually, never mind. I was going to go into a story about sidearms, but anyway. So
we've all been there. I can't tell you the number of pairs of sunglasses I've lost in rivers on various trips, fishing or guiding or whatever. It's like, oh man, again.
It's mayhem.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So I actually just like MacGyvered. I just tied a piece of twine around the broken hinges and wrapped that twine around the back of my head. And they worked better than before, and they were comfortable, and we were like, racing these camels up and down these dunes, and they were staying like securely in place, but they weren't pressing into my head or squeezing my head at all. It was kind of like the perfect tension.
Interesting.
And when I didn't want them on, I could just drop them around my neck or throw them in my pocket without having to really worry about them, which was also a plus. And so I got back to the States, where I replaced that twine with leather cord. And once I got back to like civilization in India, and then I got back to the States and wore that same pair of MacGyver sunglasses for 5 years.
Wow.
Through college, this is coming from a guy who loses his wallet like once a week. So
that's impressive.
It was. And so Nicola and I went to school together, and back at Redlands, and I came back, and Nikolai was a good friend of mine and saw these sunglasses and was like obsessed with them and kept on like stealing them from me. And so would my other friends and like peers would take them from me. And like I'd have to chase them down to get them back. And strangers would come up off the street and ask like who made the sunglasses and where they could get a pair. And so
what were the was it special lenses or anything? Or was it just a basic pair of cheap?
No, it was. They were not cheap. They were nice sunglasses. Okay. It was nice lenses, and it was actually the first frame was the exact that frame was the exact same frame of the frame shape that we've sold for the first 2 years as a company at OMBRAZ. That aviator frame, even the crown bridge, like the nose kind of like design on our initial original classic frame was on that pair I got in India. So it's like we just basically like 3D printed or like scanned that frame from India because we liked it so much and it looked good on so many different faces. And that was what we ran OMBRAZ with. Like
and
the
in
first
India,
2 years.
Where'd you get the cord in India? What was did you just find it on
the leather cord?
Yeah.
I think I went to like a cobbler.
Gotcha. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's cool. So then you got back, and all of a sudden you think, hey, we might have something. But then the lenses broke again. Is that what you told me about as we were warming up?
Yeah. So I kind of always knew that I wanted to start a product and develop like my own kind of journey. And so Nikolai and I were working on we kind of teamed up to work on another product, another company at the time. Mm-hmm. And this was a few years after college. We were hosting these offsite retreats for executive teams in the area. Mm-hmm. On like luxury real estate. We basically outfit like these compounds with workspace, and then these teams could come in and get good work done and have all the amenities of an office, and then be able to step outside and go kayaking or fishing or hiking or whatever they wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And it was awesome. It was going well, and we just realized it was going to be difficult to scale. And then the community where we had our first property shut down our rental property because the HOA community said we couldn't rent there. Mm-hmm. So that was right about the same time these lenses broke in my sunglasses, and I took them into this boutique eyewear shop in Seattle, and the owner saw this pair of broken sunglasses with a cord tied on them, and he was like, "What's going on? What are these?" And I kind of told him my idea. He seemed like a really nice guy. Yeah. And the slogan of their shop was "Fight Evil," and he just seemed like a super genuine, authentic dude. So, I was worried about someone stealing the idea, so I was very cautious at the time. But I talked to him about it, and he was like, "Dude, this is really cool. I've never seen anything like this." And he actually introduced me to his factory that he makes sunglass frames with in China. This acetate company. And so I got the intro, and this was exciting because the sunglass design hadn't really changed in 250 years.
Exactly,
everyone is so
other than you guys, it's all the same.
Yeah, now it has. Exactly. And sunglasses are just so frustrating, and they're frustrating for so many people, especially people that get after it in the outdoors.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we all, we've tried chums, and we've tried this thing and that thing and the other thing to keep them on your head, but they always manage to fall off.
Yeah, well, and the chums will keep them on your head, but they're not going to protect the sunglasses from breaking.
Right.
And they're still pinching your head, right at the temples. So, there's still a lot of problems even with that retainer strap.
So with this factory that this guy connected you with, did you actually go there, or did you just reach out to them through fax?
We reached out, and then I started drawing kind of potential attachment methods for the cord to attach to the frame, and started kind of exchanging sketches back and forth between this factory, and they would send back technical drawings, and then we change it up and tweak it and then send it back. And this went on for about 5 months, and then finally they sent the first prototypes of the frame. And this whole prototyping process was, we were doing that while we were trying to source other materials like a potential cord. And that cord had to be aesthetically pleasing. It couldn't just be a shoelace or something like that, because this is going along your face, but it had to be soft and lightweight and look premium, because that was what we were trying to do, develop a more premium product and not just a cheap throwaway pair of $20 sunglasses.
And were you sourcing that in China or wherever you could, everywhere and anywhere?
We had no idea where to go for this cord.
I bet.
So we Nikolai and I kind of teamed up to start working on this together, because we just realized that we worked really well together. We had we complemented each other's strengths and weaknesses, and we kind of knew our
your style.
We knew our style from working before. Exactly. Right. And Nikolai, I don't know, you can kind of touch on your where you brought a lot of value to OMBRAZ initially.
Yeah, so at the time I was working at Amazon as a buyer in the toys category of all categories, and so I had been working for about 3 years in the e-commerce space, and really understood the space very well. Understood digital marketing, kind of what it took logistically to bring a product to market on the internet, and kind of all those kinds of loose ends of how to ship stuff, how to get a 3PL, warehousing, building out a website. I had a lot of skills in that regard, And so, starting we knew we wanted to start OMBRAZ as like a direct to consumer company. And this really made sense. And Jensen and I both kind of wanted to go in that direction. And, had some great experience to bring. And Jensen also had a great, just mindset for e-commerce so I think our skills both just like contributed well to execute this process.
Did you guys do anything e-commerce wise personally, or was it just through work, through Amazon and through other things? Did you have a previous product that you launched, or an idea, a website, a blog, anything like that?
I came back from India with like 1,000 Alibaba pants. And I never put them online, but I did sell them to like half of my school, half of the University of Redlands. I think by the time I graduated, you couldn't walk down the campus without seeing someone in a pair of these Indian pants, which is funny because Nikolai also asked me to bring him back some before like he even knew that like he just heard I was going to India. He's like, bring me back some pants. And so I
gotta find that. I gotta find that Facebook message I sent you. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So you had some sales experience through that.
Mm-hmm. And then I also I was the regional rep for a green roof installation company, like a vegetated roof system company. Okay. So yeah, I had some good sales experience.
So you guys married that with the Amazon experience to actually launch the company and do it online. That's pretty smart. That's pretty good. Yeah, that's amazing. Good for you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah. So after the sourcing and going to China, all that stuff, at what point did you figure out, how long did it take you to get that finalized so you knew you had a product to go to market with?
It's a fantastic question. So, the cord was the biggest thing that was the most difficult to find because it had to be perfect. Right, and for all the aforementioned reasons. And so
materials and longevity. I mean, there's so many reasons it had to be perfect. Yeah. I bet it was tough.
Exactly. Yeah. So I was tying these like Italian boots up I had one day when I was going out, and my hand was going through this, it felt like a leather shoelace, and it was a nice boot, and I was like, wow, this is a nice material. What is this? So I ended up like calling the boot company. They're an Italian company, and I asked them if they had any extra boot lace, and they said, yeah, we do. And so I ordered a bunch of it, and we started prototyping with that cord. Yeah. And it was a waxed cotton cord, or like a slightly waxed cotton cord, and it felt really nice, and it looked really nice. It almost like patinaed to be like leather.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it wasn't for the knots we were using, for our adjustable knots to make the cord, adjust, like make it be able to fit different size heads and be able to like sling it around your neck. We had these like this single fisherman's knot sliding knot system, and when this cotton cord got wet, it wouldn't slide, and so we ended up like taking 30, 40 cords at a time and baking cedar beeswax into this cotton cord
in the kitchen.
In the kitchen, yeah. And that's great. And then we wring out the wax and then do it again. So this cord became this like kind of stiff, leathery, and it felt so it felt artisan, and it smelled like cedar, and it was really kind of like the essence of the brand of like this like handmade artisan sunglass that we were trying to create. And then we would pass the cord through the frame and then actually hand stitch every prototype. So we'd like wrap the thread around and basically stitch the cord back to itself. And then we were, these are early prototyping days. We would buy like mahogany beads at Michael's Arts and Crafts and be dremeling them out and countersinking a washer into the bead, and then taking some resin and capping it off. So we had these cords with a nice mahogany bead, almost like looking like it was in-molded on the end.
Beautiful.
And so, it was really, every pair took us like 30 minutes to make, 30 to 40 minutes to make. And we made probably 100 of these handmade pairs. And those were the initial pairs we sent out before we kind of launched as a company, we sent those out to, like Outside Magazine and Gear Junkie and Gear
really
Patrol.
Smart.
And so like all these big time publications were like receiving these really just like handmade, like super rudimentary products. And they were loving them.
Did you have appropriate packaging to go with that, or at that point you were just sticking them in a box and sending them? What was that like? Or did you have handmade artisan packaging? Some kind of a cool box?
We did have some we had like a compostable custom like craft mailer that we were sending them out in, and then we'd write like a handwritten note to each person, kind of explaining how to wear them and kind of like telling them this was like hand stitched and all these kind of things that kind of added to the story a bit.
Right.
But I mean.
And so that was
our fingers were just bloody from these needles, like, and we're making like 20 pairs at a time on like runs, and it was just like, definitely not scalable, but it's just so crazy to see, that where we've come now. Yeah, it's pretty awesome looking back.
And the feedback was obviously fabulous. I mean, everybody loved it.
It was fabulous. They were so well received, and we kind of for our launch, we knew, that we didn't necessarily want to take money from investors and give away a huge portion of the company. And crowdfunding, like Kickstarter and Indiegogo, that kind of method just seemed like such a great way to kind of test the market, see if there's like demand for this kind of product and raise some money so we didn't have to give away much equity.
Yeah.
And so, that was kind of how we thought to start OMBRAZ, and
perfect.
That was the plan. So we kind of, the video is such an important part of the launch, and so we
we'll link to that in the show notes. That's a great video.
We took a ton of time developing that video, and we wanted to make it unique. And we've heard from like Guy Ross on NPR's How I Built This told us it was the best crowdfunding video he's ever seen.
It's pretty good. It's damn good.
Yeah. It's good. I still watch it every once in a while. I'm like, wow, we killed it. Yeah.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. So tell us about the creating the crowdfunding project. That was, you guys did a great job at not only the video, but I think all the other steps you put into it, thought you put into it, really made it. That's what makes it successful as well. It's not just a great product and a great video. You got to have, all the T's crossed and I's dotted. How did that come about?
Well, we knew with such like a novel idea, we knew that we needed some authoritative voices to validate that this product worked well and was awesome. So we knew we needed to like get some PR behind us, and that's like such a dark hole PR. Like when you're not in the PR industry, you're just like, okay, like we need Backpacker and Outside to write about us. Now, how do we do that?
Right.
So we talked to a few PR agencies, realized that we couldn't afford them, and decided to do it ourselves. So we just kind of smiled and dialed and cold called our way into a bunch of places. We would guess people's email addresses. We would scour LinkedIn and look for like mutual connections, and we found a bunch of mutual connections actually through like childhood friends and people in our past. And we were able to actually connect with Outside Magazine, Gear Patrol, Gear Junkie, Free Skier Magazine, The Inertia, just
great.
To name a few. And then, and we've been lucky to get a ton of PR since, before and after the launch, and that really helped kind of catalyze our whole our crowdfunding campaign from the time we launched. And it was interesting because we launched our crowdfunding campaign in like late March, I believe, and we didn't start doing our PR efforts until February, like late February.
Wow.
And
what kind of things did you do? What kind of things did you guys do? You had the great video, but did you do wrote articles? What other kind of things did you do?
Yeah, so a lot of it was sending out samples to. So we would look at these different publications. We had like a list of 100, and we would find the authors that that wrote on kind of that covered the subject matter that we were trying to get coverage about.
Yep.
And then we would kind of reach out to them and pester them until they responded and agreed to review our product, and then we would bug them until we saw an article out. And cool. I don't think we ever got too annoying, but we just kind of used our natural charm and personalities to ask for their help, and they kindly supported. And I think, the thing is with the sunglass industry is there's a lot of the same stuff out there.
Yep.
You see, there hasn't really been any distinct change in the sunglass industry in like over 250 years. And so a lot of these journalists were very keen to give us their time of day because we were finally introducing something different to the sunglass industry.
Well, and it was different not in the lens, right? That's what they all focus on, the lens and the coating and the this and the that. It's like, you know what? The lens is fine. It's not the lens that's the problem.
Exactly. The lens isn't what breaks. I mean, obviously people do have some problems with the lenses, but that's usually not what breaks first. And just
not what causes you to lose them, right? They fall off your head in the river. That's not because of the lens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, we just, reached out to all of our like networks and friends and family. We had all of our best friends put together their email list of their close friends and family. So that on launch day, we had a 10,000 person email list that we were able to reach out to and ask for support and tell our story. And we also threw a great launch party. We had a band play and some stand-up comedians, and everyone came out, and we hosted it at this place called Pono Ranch, which we really wanted to do a repeat party there this summer, but that got COVID.
Yeah, well, maybe next summer, next spring. Yeah. So you guys were working through all this, right? Is that how you funded all this? Was working, or did people a lot of people are very generous with their time and stuff, so a lot of the stuff can get, doesn't really require funding. They'd love to be part of it. What was that?
We were kind of doing like stuff on the side for supplemental income, and then we took a small investment from a family member.
And so tell us about launch day with the Kickstarter. It was Kickstarter, right?
It was supposed to be Kickstarter.
Oh, okay. It was Indiegogo. You want to talk about that, or you want to just talk about the...
We can touch on it quickly. We were going to launch on Kickstarter because everyone knows Kickstarter. And then we built out our the entire campaign on Kickstarter, and then we, submitted it. And part of, we haven't touched on this yet. I mean, I did kind of say that ecological stewardship was a big part of our brand, but we kind of wanted to not like, if we're going to be developing a product and across the world and shipping it to like the US and then shipping it around the world, like we wanted to have this product, like it was important that it created like a net benefit environmental impact. We didn't feel right just doing that and like emitting plastic and carbon into the atmosphere.
We don't need more of that, right? We need less.
Yeah, we don't need more of that. So like OMBRAZ, like it was important that this was like a product that if you bought it, you're actually doing more good for the world than negative. And so we kind of arrived at planting trees would be the best solution for that. And so every time you buy a pair of sunglasses from us, we plant 20 trees in Madagascar, 20 mangrove trees. And so because of that kind of, mission behind the sunglasses, Kickstarter would not let us host our campaign on their platform because they say all the funds raised, none of it can go towards like a charitable effort.
Wow.
It has to go towards the project. And so they wouldn't let us, they wouldn't let our campaign go through, which was frustrating because we've actually seen them let campaigns go through that have charitable missions Before and after ours.
Oh, before.
But,
Okay, yeah. And how far down the road was this? Like, were you guys like ready to go with Kickstarter?
We were like 20 hours away.
Oh my God! Wow.
Yeah, so we had to quickly migrate everything over to Indiegogo.
Yeah.
Which is another. It went well, and Indiegogo actually ended up they have like more like support, and it's easier to work with their team and get kind of coverage on their end. So it ended up not being a problem at all.
So very successful, I'm assuming.
Yeah, we ended up raising like $165,000 in 30 days.
Yeah.
And we sold OMBRAZ in 52 countries, all 50 states, and all U.S. territories, and all 7 continents. I don't know who the hell bought a pair in Antarctica, but we shipped a pair. We shipped a pair to Antarctica.
That's awesome. Some scientists down there, probably. That's very cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. We're going to take a little break and give some love to our sponsor, Wolfgang Man Beast. Wolfgang Man Beast celebrates the unique relationship between dogs and their people. They offer American-made leashes and collars for your pup using only the finest American leathers and textiles, plus a distinctive collection of t-shirts and hats for you. Built domestically and transported minimally, they'll be replaced rarely. Visit theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/Wolfgang and get your pup a new leash or collar today. I see tails wagging furiously in your future. Now, back to the show. And so tell us about what's going on now. What's the structure now? You guys are, you're not large. You're still good size, but not super large. You guys have to get involved and do some things. What's life like today?
Oh man, that's a big jump.
Did I miss anything in between there? I mean, the launch was successsul. How did it?
The launch was successful.
How did the distribution go after that?
So
let's talk about that.
Well, then we didn't really have we had prototypes that we were close, but we didn't have a fully buttoned up product.
Oh, okay. So you
and
didn't
so
have,
that was still.
Gotcha.
That was so like we had like a machine to stitch the cord back to itself, because we wanted to stay true to like the roots and like kind of the initial like story of the brand, and so like that hand stitch look was super important for us. And so after the campaign, we got to work ordering materials. After the check came through, we ordered those materials, and we were like, we still got to figure out how to get this cord to stitch back to itself.
Wow.
And so we actually we actually ended up having to develop like a custom program in this electronic bar tacker, this Juki sewing machine. And the first iteration came out of this machine, and it looked like a bird nest on our on our cord. And like it was like our hearts just sank.
No bueno.
And we ended up no bueno. And so then this was like we were in the summer after that launch in March when this first like stitch iteration came out, and it just looked terrible. And we're like, oh crap, how are we going to do this? And so we ended up having to like fly in this stitch specialist who works with like Lululemon and Filson and Louis Vuitton. And we ended up working with him for like a week straight.
Wow.
Just, tweaking this custom program to get this stitch to come out looking like a premium hand wrapped kind of stitch. And nothing had ever been done like this before. There's no stitch like that out there in the world.
Yeah.
And so, but we ended up making the first 3,000 units in our barn office in just outside of Seattle, Washington, which is where I currently am at the moment. We just had friends come and help. It took us we started in September of 2018, and we did not finish until to the end of November.
Wow.
So, and we were working like 14-hour days, 7 days a week to assemble these sunglasses, and it was insane. It was the hardest thing by far that we've done.
Can imagine.
For this company. And like it was, I think there was something like 60 steps for like 40 steps per sunglass on each side, so that's like 80 steps times 3,000, which is like 240 what is that, 240,000 different touches of these sunglasses.
So when
it took us like 3 months. It was messed up.
I can imagine. And while you were doing that, were you also trying to work out how you're going to reduce that, or how you're going to make that a little smoother for actual production? Because that would be crazy.
I mean, so this was, the first 3,000 units, and we realized it wasn't scalable necessarily. But yeah, we became so intimately familiar with the product and the process that it really helped.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, it was super important, and I think anyone who starts a product or like develops a product should experience that assembly process, so they know where to make improvements, scaling up and moving forward.
And where to invest time and money. I mean, something that's going smooth is not that big a deal. You're not going to focus on, but something like that stitch, which is critically important, you're going to focus resources on, time and money. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so how did that get all worked out after those 3,000 pairs to get them into production?
Oh man. It was just, we're just ideating and finding, trial and error, and finding people who had talking to the right people, getting the right ideas. And it took us about 2 years from that date to really we did a bunch of production runs in China after that with the same process. And each time was kind of a nightmare. And we just realized that it needed to change, and we just developed kind of all our new components and new system for these last 2 new frames that we just launched, and our classics as well. So now we've got V2 OMBRAZ available on OMBRAZ.com for the first time this week, actually.
Oh, cool. Congratulations. Yeah, that's great.
Thank you. Yeah.
So let's go back to those first 3,000 pairs. Those were for the Kickstarter launch, correct?
They were, yeah. And then to have some inventory on OMBRAZ.com to kind of start. Then that's why you raise a bunch of money, and then you deliver those initial pairs, and then you have enough money to buy more inventory to kind of jumpstart the business.
Right. And so how did that jumpstart process go? Were you able to buy, because your production process was still painfully long and time consuming and challenging. At what point, it took a couple years for that to get sorted out? So you were still hand making and 14 hours, and it was still.
We did well. We just had a team in Asia that built out, and they helped us.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
After that initial run, we ended up going over to Asia and finding a team and training them hands on. We spent probably a month and a half in Asia that first year in 2018, and then in 2019, and then maybe 2 months, and then another month after that, just training and overseeing that kind of production. And Jensen and I would go there and spend a lot of time in the industrial districts of Shenzhen, overseeing production and quality controlling and losing our minds.
For that first run, we had my 89-year-old grandma in the barn taking off stickers, and we actually ended up going to Home Depot to source some labor at some points in the process, and we had friends staying until 2 a.m. with us.
Wow.
It was incredible how much support we got.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. That's a great story. Yeah. So how are things going now? You got that? Is that process still? Is it all dialed in? Sounds like it.
It's dialed in. Yeah. So we delivered those pairs, and then 2 months after we delivered those initial pairs, we won Backpacker Magazine's Curator's Choice Award.
Nice, awesome.
Which is kind of the most
huge
cover. Yeah, it was huge. It was huge, and that kind of put us on the map. And then orders were just flowing on OMBRAZ.com, and then REI reached out to us, and we started selling in REI that spring of 2019, which was we were not expecting at all. So we kind of had to quick and jumpstart into retail packaging and retail displays, and that was a whole thing. But it was something we didn't want to. REI, I think they onboarded us as one of the fastest products of all time. It usually takes months, and they onboarded us in 10 days.
Wow, good for you.
Yeah,
wow, that's impressive.
I don't know. Yeah, they were just we want to get you guys in the stores now.
Yeah.
And so That was cool. It was awesome. We were flattered.
Did they provide any assistance with the creating the retail presentation, or did you guys just have to do that all on your own?
They told us what we couldn't do. And then, yeah, no, they were nice to work with. It was great.
Mm-hmm. And are they your only retail distribution now, or do you have more? Others.
So we're in a few retail shops. We work with Huckberry, and they're mostly online.
Online catalog. I work with those guys. They're great. Yeah.
Yeah, they're wonderful.
Perfect for your brand. Yeah.
Totally. Then we've got a relationship with Moose Jaw and Neptune Mountaineering. It's a small specialty store in Boulder, Colorado. And we're in another kind of handful of specialty retail shops around the Seattle area as well.
Awesome. And so what are the plans? Don't give away any secrets, obviously, but do you want to continue to grow retail, or you want to stay mostly online? Or mostly through
this economy?
Yeah.
Well, mostly through your shop. Yeah. So how did that impact? Obviously, it impacted retail because people can't go into shops anymore, but it probably didn't. Did it impact your online business at all?
So, traditionally sunglasses, prior to this year, sunglasses were probably 80% purchased in person. So, when all the stores closed, we saw like this massive wave of demand migrate over to online.
Yeah.
So, at first when COVID hit, everything kind of like shut down and everything got a little quieter and people were nervous. And then we just saw things pick up until there was no more inventory to sell. And so it's been a challenge with staying in stock mostly, and just supply chains all over the world have been disrupted. But we've been kind of struggling through it and making it happen, and we just finally got a good amount of inventory in. So really excited about that, and things are kind of starting to level back out and get to normal in terms of like supply chains and stuff.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. So do you think after this is over, it's probably not going to be over soon, but are you going to stick with the online model, or are you going to do a little bit of both? 60-40, any thoughts on that? 60-40 being online, 60 retail, 40? We
really love being a direct-to-consumer online company, and mostly online company.
Yeah.
We don't get us wrong. We definitely value our retail relationships, and there's definitely a place for OMBRAZ on shelves of stores, but there's a lot of growth and a lot of just product development, and we love interacting with our consumers. We love building the brand and creating that experience. So we really want to continue our path down the online road. And but there are a number of retailers and brick and mortar stores we're talking to and we're working with. And that's a huge opportunity for us. So we're going to be excited to do both, and not gonna give any percentages, any breakdowns, but
Yeah, I think you have to do a little both. You have to be in some places where people can actually touch and feel it. That's smart. Yeah. And how's the ecological portion going? You still planting trees?
We have planted over 215,000 trees.
Nice.
Mangrove trees since we've started. So
congratulations. Thank you for that.
Oh, it's our pleasure.
That's great. We need all the help we can get for the planet. That's awesome. Yeah. So what's next? Do you have new styles in the pipeline? What do you guys think's coming down just survive the pandemic and then figure it out?
We are working on some new styles. We're working on some accessories.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a ton of different product improvements that are going to be rolling out in the next year or so. And we're gonna dabble in a little bit of apparel, just stuff that makes sense. But really, our main focus is going to be developing more styles of sunglasses that fit more faces and more people can enjoy.
Love it.
We'd like to get a few more feminine styles out there.
Oh, good idea. Yeah, cool. So you guys are still having fun with it?
We love it.
What do you love the most? What do you love the most?
Oh man, You know what? It's always something new. The creativity and just like that aspect of just building and creating and ideating and executing is so much fun. And like, I think, I don't know, it's like every aspect has it's just like from product development to creating the imagery and content that kind of defines the brand. It's just and to like the people we meet, to the places we get to go to kind of showcase this, and the people we get to work with, and the mentors we have, just all of it is just it's just like, I don't think there's anything I'd rather be doing right now.
That's cool. Yeah, that's cool.
Anything to add to that, Nikolai?
Yeah, Nikolai, how about you?
Life is great, and I couldn't be more grateful and happy, and we're just really excited to just keep growing and take this further and to more places. So
do you have a piece of advice for someone wanting to go through the same concept, not necessarily with sunglasses, but they have an idea, they want to launch a company? Jensen, what's your one piece of advice for someone?
Oh, that's great. Well, I think read Shoe Dog and read Let My People Go Surfing by Yvon Chouinard.
Great books.
Shoe Dog is kind of like Nike's account of how Phil Knight started Nike, and Let My People Go Surfing is kind of that's kind of been our North Star, and it's how we operate. It's how it's Patagonia's philosophy on business unusual. And I would also say build up a strong mentor base of people who have been successful and like done similar things or had success in their life, because you don't have to steer the ship yourself. You just kind of you find smart people who you respect and that want to help you, and you can kind of pick and choose their advice to help navigate those uncharted waters, and that's been extremely, extremely beneficial for us, and we're super thankful to our mentors who kind of help us pave the way for success and put out fires and deal with that adversity that's inevitable in owning and starting your own business.
It happens. Yeah, that's great advice. Nikolai, how about you?
Well, to piggyback on what Jensen just said, all of that. And don't be afraid to do everything yourself at first. I think it's really important to learn every aspect of your business so that you can understand what works the best and how to do everything, and then find the most talented, best people who are passionate and excited about what you're doing and are better than you at that to help you execute. So,
I love it. Yeah, that's great advice. Well, that's a great story, you guys. I look forward to catching up in 6 or 9 months and see what other products you've launched and how things are going. That'd be fun.
We really appreciate you taking the time to get to know OMBRAZ and introduce us to your audience. It's it's really nice, and it means a lot to us.
Thanks. Well, keep up the good work. I appreciate it.
Likewise.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
All right. Thanks, Rick.
If you want more of the Outdoor Biz Podcast, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to go to the outdoorbizpodcast.com where you find all the episodes, show notes, and much, much more. Until next time, be sure to make time to get outside.